Hey guys, what's up? Cory here with another video. We're back. And today we're talking about the nitty gritty texture, baby. We're getting texty, textured. Nailed it. Well, here we are yet again. And I have some exciting news for you guys. Maybe you use Procreate, maybe you don't. If you're watching this video, what are you doing? You should use Procreate or get an iPad or do something if you're watching this. But I recently created a new brush set and it is called Straight Up Texture, because that's what it is. It's just straight up texture for your designs. And what this video is all about is I'm gonna be breaking down how I go about texturing and distressing my designs and getting them nitty and gritty. And so yeah, I'm gonna be running you guys through some techniques that I use every day when it comes to distressing my designs and giving them just a little bit extra life. I always find that in the digital realm, sometimes it can get over digital. And you know, we're drawing on our iPads and I never want my design to look unorganic. And so I've found that utilizing texture and grit really kind of brings your design to life and makes it feel a little more tangible. So that's what we're gonna be jumping into. We're gonna be checking out all these brushes, but first things first is we need a design to work on. You gotta have a design to throw some texture on. So I'm gonna sketch up a little design and let you check that out. So decided to do a skull design because I always do skull designs. Not totally sure what I was going for right out the gate, so I was just tossing things up, seeing what would stick. Went for this little skull and crossbones guy, and then I was like, oh, is that cool? And then I was like, maybe on a flag, but I really wasn't feeling that, and so forgot about that and decided let's go with the skull with a beanie, because that's kind of sick. And I think that's what we're going for. All right, I feel like I like where this design's going. Doing this little skull with a beanie. And now what I need to do is kind of ink it out and clean up all the lines. Yeah, make this design look cool. So let's jump into that. All right, so got my skull all inked up, but now I want to do one quick little thing before I get into texturizing this. I actually want to invert this design. And so there's kind of a really simple way to do that within Procreate that I'm just going to show you real quick. So I'm going over here to my layers panel, and I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to grab this black inked up layer, and I'm going to put it above it. Also, I'm gonna go down and change my background color to like this kind of dark color. And hopefully you can still see that. But now I'm gonna go down to this new layer that I created, and I'm gonna grab like a white or something like that. And I'm gonna start coloring in this design. And I really want all these black lines to be negative space. So I'm just gonna color in this section. Right on, we got our design nice and colored. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go up to this upper layer, this black layer, And like I said, I want to make all these black lines in negative space. So I'm going to click on the little thumbnail or touch the thumbnail, and then I'm going to go down to select. It's actually up at the top. Select, and it kind of selects everything on that layer. And with it all selected, I'm going to click down to the layer that I just colored in. And I'm going to grab a big eraser. And so I got this big old eraser. It's just like maxed out. And I'm just going to broadly paint in, or just erase that section. And then I can turn off that black layer. And now you can see that it's all negative space. It's all punched out. So yeah, real simple way to just kind of create negative space with your design. So like I said, this video is about texture. We got a cool design. It's time to bring texture and grunge to it. And this is pretty much how I go about texturizing all of my designs. One thing you can do right out the gate is just duplicate this layer. Just so you have your clean palette. If you just always want to have that on hand, it's a good call. Then I'm gonna hit the little eraser guy, and I'm gonna go right over here to this straight up texture. And these are all these textures that I've created. I think there's 20 different textures in here. I just curated these for the kind of textures that I like to use. So a lot of these are very subtle and kind of just real light stuff. I don't really like to go crazy with the textures. We can, and I can show you how to go about doing that. But really how I like to stylize my designs is just very subtly and just kind of tastefully. First thing I like to do is just get a nice base layer of my texture. And I think probably something that could be cool is maybe this canvas texture too. Let's give that one a go. This one is kind of this subtle canvasy thing. I just have my opacity all the way up, and I don't know, just kind of somewhere in the middle brush size. And I'm just gonna do a nice paint over top of this design. And as you can see, we have these cool little, this almost half-toning feel, but the goal is to make it look like maybe it was on some type of canvas material and it's been weathered away. But then what I like to do is just start layering on textures. I feel like that's the key to pretty much getting good textures, is layering them up just to make them unique and authentic. So let's try this fine texture too. And I'm gonna just start hitting it on the edges because mainly my thought process is the edges of a design are typically where we start seeing a lot of decay and just natural stuff. And so the goal is to make this look as natural as possible. So I'm just gonna keep brushing this in on these edges and let them just start to weather away. As you can see right there, it's nice and weathered. We zoom out. We can see that it's starting to get sort of faded. But the nice thing about this is it's straight chunking it out pretty cleanly. So even if you are doing some type of screen printing of this design, it should uphold its texture pretty well. So again, I'm hitting these edges and just getting them nice and weathered and soft. And I'm just kind of choosing different spots. Even in these eye holes could be a cool spot. And let's go and let's choose a different texture. Let's go for this straight up texture 3. Let's see, this one might be a little more dense. But yeah, so this one's got a little bit bigger holes to it. So it might be chunking out the design a bit more, but I like that. This area looks a little too clean, so we want to really tear it up. And a lot of this stuff is subjective, but I just want to show you guys how I go about it.
Fantastic.
So a lot of this stuff is subjective, but I just want to show you guys how I go about doing this. And also show you how sick these brushes are. Like, I really like these big streaks that just put in there, that it almost even looks like cracks within the skull, so that's pretty rad. Let's see if we can get some more of that over here. And really tear up our design. Yeah, I dig how that's starting to look. Let's throw some more texture up in the hat area, and let's go let's just go for the standard straight up texture and start throwing some edge texture up there. Now these are a little bit bigger chunks than those fine texture, but that's all right. And I'm really chunking out this hat, but that's not a problem. That's what we want to do. Yeah. So this is really looking like this design has been placed on something and is like really weathered away for over some time. Look at this whole hat. His hat's just like disappearing. And so that's super rad. So I think I'm good with where this design is at. But now the other technique I like to use is, now that we've taken away from our design, I want to actually bring back some texture into the design to really make it look like this design has weathered away and it's actually breaking off and kind of flaking out past its original lines. So, and you can do this on another layer. You don't really have to. I think I'm just gonna stick on this same layer, our little texture layer. Jump over to our brush tool, and we're gonna go down to our straight up texture. And let's start out with some fine texture. So we'll do that fine texture too. And let's zoom in. I have my orange still selected. And now I'm gonna start peppering in some little flakes outside the design. I actually think I want some bigger chunks sticking out of that design. So let's just go for that straight up texture. I'm gonna make my brush a bit smaller. Yeah. Just trying to match, whoa, too much. Match what it would look like if this was really just flaking away. And yeah, I love how that looks with it's just like, it's seriously just straight up deteriorating. And let's switch over to our white, and let's hit some of this down here as well. You know, this area, and I'm trying to aim for these areas that I really chunked out a lot. So you know, this area right here, I don't want to hit a ton because it's not super weathered, versus this area that's a lot more weathered. And I'm gonna run over and probably grab that fine texture too. And there we go, just chunking it away and letting it just flake away. Yeah, and it literally looks like this design has just, yeah, eroded away, which is awesome. I want to do some more on this kind of right side of the design is a little heavy with our destruction, and so maybe this little left cheekbone, I want to jump back over to my texture, and maybe we'll really chunk it out with maybe this dense texture 1. So this guy, it's just like it's said, these are some really big chunks that we're going to be taking out of our design. Yeah. And then feather it out with our fine texture. Erasing some of that, some more of that little cheekbone, and then jump over and we'll throw our fine texture like it's dispersing past that cheekbone. Maybe some more up here, and maybe run back over to that straight up texture and throw, you know, some bigger chunks in there too. And I think it's a little pointed. I don't really like that, so I'm just gonna maybe, let's just grab this really dense texture and use that to erase some of this texture. That did too much. And I think I like that. Hit it with just a little bit more. There we go. And even if we want, we could go over just kind of the whole big piece of the design with, we'll do this fine texture 3 and just do some, maybe just in these eye socket areas and the nose, just because it's really clean. That I don't want it to look so clean. Just kind of texture these empty areas. Maybe even some right here. Yeah. And I don't like this big chunk right there, so I'm also gonna try to erase some of that. Cool. If I was just going about screen printing this design, and I would probably end here, and what you guys seen in some of my previous videos, how I go about you know, getting these designs ready for screen printing, I would do all those steps. If I'm just going to post this design in a digital medium, there's a couple other little techniques I like to do just to add a little more engagement to the background of my design, as well as to the design as a whole. So I'll show you, just, this is like, again, more digital techniques, but I think it looks cool, and yeah, just a little added texture to the whole entirety of the design. So I'm gonna go down to a lower layer and create a new layer right here. And I'm gonna choose like a black, and I'm gonna go up here and I'm gonna click this crinkle paper tone. And this is a really cool effect. I'm making my brush really big, and I think it's best if you bring your opacity down. I mean, this is at 36, so that's probably pretty good. And I'm just gonna do really broad strokes over this whole design. And it kind of just paints in this really subtle paper, crinkly, cool technique. And hopefully you guys can see all that. Hopefully that is clear to you. But yeah, as dense as you put it on, the blacker it's gonna get. The lighter you kind of press and overlap it, the lighter it'll be. So it's kind of preference, and you can also choose any color you want to create that, but I'm going with like a black. And then what I like to do is swing on up back to our main texture layer and grab the eraser and click that crinkle paper tone. Same thing, really big brush. We'll pull our opacity probably down to that 39 or something, and just start layering that ever so lightly over top of our design. And that might be too much, so let's drop our opacity and just try to lightly add some more kind of papery texture to this, like it's like the design is really on a piece of paper. And yeah, I think that's sick. You know, you can really like see those texture details in there. And there you go, man. Now you have this really rad distressed skull design. Yeah, and so here's a little before and after of this textured design versus untextured design. We could even maybe do a side-by-side comparison. Drag this one over here, bring this one back, set this guy over here. Just let you put your eyeballs on that, you know, like this kind of before and after effect where you don't, you know, this one right here, it's cool, it's a cool design, but it's just a little sharp and crisp and clean versus this guy that is just full of this really organic, natural looking texture of it, just like it really is a living, real piece of artwork that just looks great. There you guys have it. We did a design, we threw some texture on it, we made it gritty, and we made it gross and destructive and just, yeah, we got a cool looking design, and I'm happy with it, and hopefully it kind of gave you a couple tips and tricks. I know this is a quick, pretty simple video. Just wanted to give you guys my take on how I go about doing texture on my designs. If you see my Instagram, you see the texture all over all my stuff, and so it's just something I love. I think it really brings character and life into the artwork that you make, especially if your artwork's mainly living on the internet. This texture, you can pick it up if you liked it. If maybe you saw this video and like, dang, I want to apply all those textures to my designs, you can go to the link in our description and it'll take you over to our website. This texture pack's on there, 20 textures, and I tried to make them as versatile, kind of unique, high res. You know, they work good with a large canvas size, and they really can piece out your design. I don't really know. Is there any other way to say destroy your design? Yeah, that's just what they're there for. To tear up your design and make it look alive. Head over to our website, check it out, pick up them brushes. It would mean a lot to me. It'd mean a lot to Jonathan. Oh, I know it'd mean a lot to him. Hopefully you learned something in this video. Hopefully you took something away from this and maybe picked up one tip, maybe 2 tips. I don't know. If we don't see you there, we'll see you in the air. And we'll ARF on you guys later. ARF? What's up, squad?
Did you get your point across?
I don't know. And it's got this texture pack on there for sale.
Nice little melody line.
Destroy, deteriorate, destruct. Jared, any